Once again by Joel Klatt. Joel, was last night more about Georgia's great offense or Oklahoma's bad defense?
You know, I understand the question, but candidly, neither. It was really neither, because both were kind of exactly what we thought they were. We knew Georgia was a great rushing team, a great offensive team running the football. Now, I didn't know Fromm was going to play so poised down the stretch, but that's down the stretch. You can't, talk about that coming in. OU's defense, were they anything other than what they've been all year? Absolutely not. Absolutely. This is what we've seen in the Big 12. They're a poor tackling team. They give up big plays. If you were to ask Oklahoma before the game, we'll give you 45 points in regulation, they would have taken it and ran.
You
and
got
said,
that right.
We'll do something, right? We're going to pressure enough. We'll do something. We'll get one play here and there. The bottom line for me about OU's defense is that they were not a great defense all year long, and they made 3 really big stops in that game that should have won the game for them. The first one was the scoop and score. Yep. They give themselves a lead. Yep. Second, they come back out right after that scoop and score. What'd they do? They forced a punt.
Yeah.
So there's 5 minutes to go in the game, and the Heisman Trophy winner jogs onto the field with a 7-point lead. You got to win that game.
5 minutes left.
5 minutes to go. That's 4-minute offense. You got to make 1 or 2 first downs and really bleed this thing out so you win the game.
Yep.
They don't. Okay. You go to overtime, win the toss, defense forces a field goal. You've got the Heisman Trophy winner now jogging on the field, touchdown wins it.
And you know what you got to do.
Touchdown wins it. Yep. So the OU defense did what they needed to do to win the game. They only needed a few stops, and they got them in big moments. What I was more upset with on the OU side was the conservative nature that Lincoln Riley had in those big moments. Think about what they did in some of the most critical times of the football game. First and foremost, in overtime, they've got 3rd and 2. 3rd and 2, touchdown wins it in the playoff. And they handed the ball to Jordan Smallwood. Great kid. I've met him a couple of times. He had 3 carries on the season. On the season. Do you know that would have been like Texas in 2005 against USC, giving the ball to a guy named Michael Houston? Does anyone know who Michael Houston is?
Nope.
He was a running back for Texas that had 3 carries on the season. That blows your mind, right? Like, no way, Texas. Texas wouldn't have given the ball to Michael Houston. But Oklahoma just gave the
that
ball
wasn't
to
a
Jordan
conservative
Smallwood.
call. It was a trick play because they line him up on the wing and run a little inside reverse to your most physical wide receiver. He's the biggest, strongest, most physical, and hope he can bust it off tackle.
You cannot defend that play call. You cannot defend it.
Okay, but I'm just saying.
Baker Mayfield did not throw a pass in overtime in the first overtime.
I'm with you.
He's one of the most decorated, best college quarterbacks maybe in history, and you don't throw a pass with him in the first overtime when a touchdown wins it? That's an epic fail on an offensive play calling standpoint.
Every big play, key play in the second half was some kind of we're going to trick you play. They're bringing in Kyler Murray, the backup quarterback, to try to trick him that they're going to toss it to him. They're running reverses. The first one worked. At the end of the first half, they ran the reverse to CeeDee Lamb, and he tosses it badly, but to Baker Mayfield for a touchdown. All of a sudden, it's 31-14. If you told me yesterday I'd be up 31-14 with 6 seconds left in the half, I'd say, congratulations to me, Happy New Year.
With receiving the second half kick.
Yeah, you're going to get the second half kick. But every key play, Lincoln Riley kind of went Mike Leach, and they were all gadgety plays.
Yep.
They're all gizmo plays. Like, what are you doing? You got this guy he torched them in the first half. Baker Mayfield threw for 200, and Rodney Anderson, who is a stud back, he ran for 125 in the first half. They have no answer for you. You're 6 out of 8 on 3rd down in the first half, and you hang 31 on it. That's hard to do. That's a really good, well-coached defense that they have. Go ahead.
And that's what I was saying, though, Skip. When you look at it, let's just say, because I thought the strength of Georgia was their defense, the strength of Oklahoma was their offense. Okay, let's just say for the sake of argument, Joel, they play to a push. Now who you got? You want Georgia's offense in that running game, or do you want OU's defense?
Running game.
And that's what it was. And see, what college allows you to do, they were picking up chunk plays, but in college, the clock stops when you get a first down. So it's not like the NFL where it's a continuation. So you get a first down, the clock's stopping. But OU did themselves no favors because you was giving up 75-yard touchdowns.
Yeah.
You were giving up 50-yard touchdowns. You wouldn't let them methodically go down the field. They were getting running plays of 75 yards. which is unacceptable because a lot of teams, when you fall behind Oklahoma, like Georgia did, what do? You get out of your comfort zone. You start throwing the football thinking that's what you need. Give Georgia's OC, Jim Chaney, credit. We are a running football team. We're not going to let you coax us in because we don't believe you can stop our run. So now they just run the football. But give Georgia's defense. I don't think Georgia defense did anything different in the second half than the first. Kirby Smart got to the center of the room. He said, guys, what they're doing out there now is what we saw on tape. Shed your block. Go get the guy with the football.
And they played a little more man coverage in the second half, which took away Mark Andrews. Because Mark Andrews in the first half at least had some room because of the zone. Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown had some room because of the zone defense, and so they got some big plays there. Then they started playing man coverage.
It was press man the whole second
It really
half.
wasn't. They couldn't get off. They couldn't get any space. The other aspect of this, there's a few other aspects that you just have to mention when you're talking about this. I want to give Jake Fromm a lot of credit because in the biggest moment of the game, they've got first down at the 40-yard line. There's about 2.5 minutes left, and DJ Ward comes totally free into the backfield to sack Jake Fromm. And he gave him a little left shoulder and gets out. And then all of a sudden he scrambles, dumps it to Sony Michel, and now they're in business. Right. If that's a sack at 2 minutes and 15 seconds at the 50-yard line, I don't know if that game goes to overtime even. So then you've got to talk about a couple other things. I just want to mention them quickly. Field position in the second half. Georgia's average starting field position in the second half, the 41.5-yard line. OU, the 17.5-yard line. And that is a result of the kicking game. And Oklahoma fell woefully short in the kicking game. They botched the squib kick at the end of the first half. They had 2 punts, their last 2 punts, 28 yards, 29 yards, and they have a blocked field goal in overtime. You lose games when that happens.
What's that?
Tighten it up, Skip.
Tighten up.
Lincoln Riley tightened up, no doubt.
In all my Sooner watching life, and I was born and raised a Sooner fan, that was the most agonizing defeat ever because the second half for me was slow death. I could feel it coming. It felt inevitable. It felt like I had been pushed off a cliff and it was a long fall and I was suspended in midair and I was going to hit the ground with a splat at some point. I just didn't know exactly when. And I got Stoops again. Because Bob Stoops did this to me regularly in any big stage, big stakes game, lots of big bowl disasters, embarrassments, humiliations. And I believe that Bob stepped aside but asked that he keep his brother up in the press box coaching the defense. And to your point, where Oklahoma's defense has gotten shredded in the past 3 or 4 years, and some this year, is when they just spread you out and picked you to pieces. But this is what I thought they could do. They've usually been decent at stopping the run. This is a team that does not throw it to catch up. So you get ahead 31-14 against a true freshman who's not a bombs away kid. He played with great poise. He's very efficient. But he can't throw you back in the game. And you're giving up touchdowns of 75, 50, 38, and then the game winner is 27 yards untouched. It's like,
he's throwing hitches.
Hey,
he was throwing hitches.
That's a Bob Stoops issue. Your defense has to be better than that. They don't have any legacy of playing defense back to all the way to the 70s. But in this case, they got to get as soon as they showed Bob Stoops on the sideline cheerleading, I said, I'm dead.
Skip, they had good defensive seven. They had the Selman
No, I'm
brothers.
saying you got to go back to the Selmans. That's where and even the Bosworth defense in
I wouldn't quite go there because Bob, when he first got to Oklahoma, that was a defensive-oriented team. I mean, they held Florida State to 2 points in the national championship game. They were some of the best defenses in America through about 2006. And then that's when it changed.
You know what? You can't do that because go back to the Big 12 championship game when they were ranked number 1. Darren Sproles went for 235 on them and they lost 35-7.
But you can't do that because Chris Winkie was a Heisman Trophy winner for Florida State. They scored 2 points in the national championship game.
Matt Leinart threw a party on them 55-19 in the championship game. And then I could go one game after the Fiesta Bowl was a disaster to somebody named Boise State, 43-42. West Virginia was in the Big East.
Just last segment, you were singing the OU praises for Trevor Knight beating Alabama.
No, but I'm just saying that I can go all the way. That's the one exception to the rule in this whole list. Johnny Manziel in the Cotton Bowl, it was 41-13, and he threw for 287 and ran for 230.
But then they beat Auburn just last year
You know,
in the Sugar Bowl.
Hey, but nobody cares.
But here's the
Oh,
thing.
but they care when it's Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl.
Skip,
I mean, you're
'cause
picking
you
and
get
choosing
humility.
what we're carrying here.
Okay, do you remember what Clemson did to him back-to-back years? 40-6 and then 37-17. This is Oklahoma. That was Bob Stoops.
But here's the thing. You look at Lincoln Riley, we talking about his play calling, and it's exotic. Georgia didn't get exotic in their play calling. We toss it or we hand it.
Yeah.
When somebody runs the football like Georgia, it's hat on a hat. We say, they say, we come and skip.
They're not trick plays. They're
No.
like, it's like freeways,
Yes.
LA freeways to the end
Yes.
zone, right? I've never seen anything like
It's,
it.
man, it's-
A couple of Sonny Michel runs. I'm like, there's nobody home. He just like looking around like,
I got to
I'm
be
gone.
honest. I don't think I would have played with a safety. Once I was up 31-14, 31-17,
Yeah.
would you have played with? I mean, would you have said like, "Hey,
Oh,
if
you like-
Fromm,
oh, you
if
go-
Fromm throws an 80-yard touchdown, maybe I'll come over and be like, okay, let's
Yeah.
maybe adjust." But
All right.
I mean, I would have had.
You playing big football.
I
'cause
might
you-
have even put a 12th guy in there to like force him to call it. I
You know
mean,
what?
that's
in the end, I wish it had been 60-0. I would have taken. I could live with 60-0. This is. I couldn't even sleep last
In
night.
a bowl,
this is
you
just-
give up
That was a close
326 yards on 25 carries in a bowl
in
game.
a bowl game.
it's not good.
Yeah, and if you told me yesterday I wind up with 48 points and 513
But they
total
got the
yards,
three. They got the three most important stops of the game.
They
though.
did.
That's the thing.
Well, you
guys.
might get
It's
your
like,
wish, Skip. I don't know if Stoops is going to be able to hold on to this job.
that's
You
he's
give up
gotta go.
325 yards.
He's got to go. That's just terrible.
Hold on now. I mean, I'm going to go back to this. They got the scoop and score. They forced a punt, and they forced a field goal in the first overtime.
Right.
I mean, I think Lincoln's a great coach. Great coach. This one's going to live with him for a long time because Oklahoma played a terrible game. Kick game was terrible. They didn't tackle well, and they absolutely should have won the ball game because
they
you
should
have the
have.
Heisman
No,
Trophy
I
winner
agree.
on the field.
5 minutes to go.
5 minutes to
Well,
go. Should have
heck,
won it then.
for
First
that matter,
overtime touchdown wins it.
How about 55 seconds? If you're that guy
With three
55
timeouts.
seconds
Three
left,
timeouts in college
do
with
something.
55 seconds.
They
That's
should have
pretty
done
good.
something. And listen, I thought that the third down play call, a lot of the third down play calls were just kind of like, I didn't know what was going on. Third down play call, just get the first down, clock stops, you have a timeout. They only needed 20 yards to attempt a field goal.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.